Hello and welcome to News Central Now. I am Adebola Adedugba. The top stories at this hour. Senator Adebola sworn in as Edo State 5th democratically elected governor. As independent marketers sign deal on fuel supply with Dangote, NNPC denies working against local refineries. Senegal's former president Macky Sall leads opposition coalition in the country's snap parliamentary election. And details shortly. Let's begin by telling you that the newly elected governor of Edo State, Senator Monday Okpewolo, and his deputy, Dennis Idahosa, have been sworn in. The Chief Justice of the state, Daniel Okungbowa, administered the oath to the state's #1 and 2 citizens at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium on Tuesday. They both pledged to uphold the Constitution, work within its dictates, and ensure the well-being of the people of the state. Supporters of the party at the stadium cheered throughout the oath-taking ceremony, marking the beginning of a new administration in the state. And to help discuss this event, we're joined by a political analyst, Ibrahim Momo. Good afternoon. It's glad to have you join me on the program. If you're there, Mr. Ibrahim. Okay, we'll try to connect with him if we can. A former governor of Osun State, Rauf Aregbesola, has emphatically backed calls for Nigeria to ditch the presidential system of government and return to a parliamentary system. He said this at a national dialogue on a homegrown parliamentary system in Abuja. The immediate past Minister of Interior, who said he's opposed to the executive system of government currently practiced in Nigeria, insisted that the arrangement in the parliamentary system is best suited for a country like Nigeria. According to the group made of about 60 lawmakers, the transition has become necessary to reduce the cost of governance in the face of dwindling revenue. And for more on this, we're joined by Executive Director, Not a Young to Lead Initiative, and that's Elvis Akpobi. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me on the news. Let me kick off by asking what your thoughts are, if indeed a parliamentary system or a change in the system of government is a panacea to our political challenges in Nigeria.
Yes, to an extent it is, but let's look at our problems critically. Our problems today the problems we are plagued with today did not start just immediately. It's a foundational problem where we pray for good leadership when ordinarily we should be praying for better citizenry. Our policies are very, very flexible. They are bettered with bias, political binaries, ethnic binaries, and all that. If we subscribe to parliamentary system of government, fine. If it works for that country, that's because they have good citizenry, they have good mindset. Let's ask ourselves today, the number of citizens waiting to eat from the cake, the national cake, is more than the people eating from the national cake today. Corruption is endemic today in the fabric of a handful of Nigerians. Not because it's what we are used to, it's not because it's what should be celebrated, but because it seems as if people who ordinarily shouldn't have anything to do with leadership find their way into leadership. It becomes a culture of, going away with looting taxpayers' money and all that without any positive ripple effect on development on ground. So for me, the call is okay, but the mindset of the people, even the parliamentarians, the person that will be the prime minister and all that, the mindset of that person will determine if we will move forward or if we will go backward.
So in light of that, what kind of reforms would be required to transit from presidential to a parliamentary system of government?
To the best of my knowledge, reforms like constitutional amendments will help transit from executive to parliamentary system of government. Let's not forget too that the powers around the executive system of government, it seems as if it makes a lot of people very vulnerable. You see, I've seen cases where people have nice policies, nice ideas that will grow in a nation or a state, but everything rises and falling upon whoever the president is, the mindset of the president or the mindset of the governor, and it has affected us. But once we subscribe to a parliamentary system of government where most of the parliamentarians, share their thoughts, it has to do with lobby and all that. They share their thoughts, and we find out that policies are pushed. The only hiccup we always have with these policies, if these policies are laced with bias and sentiment, that's why you notice that they are not well enacted and they are not well obeyed.
Well, I mean, there are concerns regarding this, switch to parliamentary system of government. I mean, looking at it closely, it's a system whereby the party with the greatest representative in legislature would form that of the executive. And, in such a case, would there be anything like checks and balances?
We also have issues with check and balances. Let's not forget, if you check the political climate of the country today, I may be wrong, but there's a systematic bid to, turn our democratic process, our party system into a monoparty, a one-party system, owing to the fact that you see people who, the electoral act that talks about, switching of parties, affiliation, for me, it's just written and it's not enacted. We've seen cases where people who are in a particular party jump ship. Ordinarily, what's in the book says that you lost your seat or anything, but you see court injunction, judgment coming from different angles. So for me, it's our democratic system today is a charade. I fear for the next, should we continue like this in the next 10 years. But as civil society people, as change makers, will continue to call out those who conducted governance to our vote, because for me, nobody's more Nigerian than any Nigerian. This is our country. We must amplify voices. We must put hope in action by, telling our stories, demanding accountability from those who've conducted governance with our vote.
Well, thank you so much for your thoughts on the news. Elvis Akpobi, Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative. Many thanks indeed.
Thanks for having me.
And now to the petroleum sector, where the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, has finalized a deal with Dangote Refinery to source petroleum products directly, aiming to offer Nigerians fuel at more affordable rate. IPMAN's national president, Abubakar Garima, announced the agreement on Monday at a press briefing in Abuja following discussions with the association's National Working Committee. Garima confirmed that the refinery will supply products like premium motor spirit PMS, automotive gas oil, and dual-purpose kerosene directly to IPMAN depots and retail outlets, ensuring continuous and widespread availability across the country. Highlighting the benefits of the partnership, Garima encouraged IPMAN members to support the refinery, noting the advantages of backward integration and its positive impact on Nigeria's foreign exchange. He expressed optimism that a collaboration with Dangote would result in reducing pricing for consumers. Earlier, Publicity Secretary IPMAN Ukadike Chinedu joined us on the news to talk on this.
I have stated it clearly in this studio that there will be serious decline in premium motor spirits in all our filling stations. Instead of people, market commuters, queuing like mosquito coil in NNPC filling station, independent marketers will provide the lower price. We are talking about pricing here. If they sell to us the way they sell to NNPC, like what we have achieved now in this Dangote deal, we are going to sell lower than NNPC. And I want to tell you that all this issue of queues and the epileptic distribution of petroleum products will be a thing of the past. The issue of 500 million liters in Dangote tank will be a thing from onwards will be a thing of the past. And there will be serious competition. Both MOMA members, DAPMAN members, IPMAN members will be at the same line. The whistle will be blown, everybody will take off. And I want to tell you, we are healthy and hearty and very, very strong to compete in this industry. We have all it takes. We have the money, we have the tank farm, we have the personalities, and we have the distribution channel. So from now onwards, once our papers have been put in place, because the meeting just held last week, and we are now trying to do the documentation. And the Dangote have found to us that even if we want to start moving today, that is going to give us progress.
Meanwhile, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Ltd, Mele Kyari, has assured that NNPC Ltd fully supports the prosperity of local refineries across Nigeria. And speaking at the 42nd Annual International Conference and Exhibition of the Nigeria Association of Petroleum Explorationists in Lagos, themed Resolving the Nigeria Energy Trilemma, Energy Security, Sustainable Growth and Affordability, Kyari emphasized the company's commitment to Nigeria's energy future. Amid recent tensions between oil marketers and Dangote Refinery, Kyari clarified that NNPC Ltd is not undermining domestic refinery efforts. Instead, as a shareholder in the Dangote Refinery, NNPC's investment aims to bolster Nigeria's energy security and ensure a steady domestic fuel supply. Kyari's remarks underscore NNPC's stance on fostering energy sustainability and affordability for the nation. The National Orientation Agency has called for a nationwide sensitization on the national anthem and the 747 National Values Charter. The initiative represents a pivotal moment for all Nigerians, one that seeks to strengthen the bonds of our national unity, promoting the value that unite us as Nigerians. News Central's Chizoba Anyanwi compiled a report from certain regions in Nigeria to ascertain the feeling of citizens on this call by the National Orientation Agency.
Plateau was one of the states in Nigeria where the National Orientation Agency had a sensitization program for citizens to improve their value system as Nigerians. It was at a press briefing that the director of the National Orientation Agency in Plateau State brought to the fore the need for citizens to be further sensitized on the national anthem and the National Value Charter. The director said there is a need for Nigerians to have a rethink by changing their perception about the value systems in the country.
The National Values Charter is not just a set of guidelines, it is a call to action for all Nigerians. It encourages us to reflect on our actions and consider how we can contribute positively to our communities.
For the Nigeria we crave for, citizens must be alive to this charter.
The nationwide sensitization on the national anthem and the National Values Charter is more than an initiative. By embracing these values, we not only honor our past, but also pave the way for a brighter future for Plateau State and for Nigeria as a whole.
However, some residents of Plateau who spoke to News Central believe that if the change the country deserves does not come from its leaders, then it may be a mission in futility.
You cannot tell people on a hungry stomach that things will get better with words. When they've not eaten, they cannot access education, there's no proper health care, there's nothing happening in the country.
Hunger is actually the order of the day. And how do they expect that you should be patriotic? You are requiring something from me, but you're not giving me. Then I wouldn't be.
We should adhere to those values that to bring us together. But again, our leaders must lead by example. By doing that, citizens of this country will key into it.
For their counterparts in Asaba, the Delta State capital, it is mixed reactions.
If they react positively to whatever we are saying and took the right step towards the right direction, nobody will complain. Nigeria is a blessed nation. We know that. But what we are seeing now, it looks as if we are cursed. But they should try to turn our orientation, not only by speaking, but by putting it in action.
The NOA has not gone out of place. I think the youth should speak positive into Nigeria and believe that Nigeria can be better.
In Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, Abubakar Hassan is of the opinion that Nigerians have no alternative than to remain patriotic.
In order to show our love to this country, we have to be very patriotic. Anything that has to come with Nigerians, we have to protect our dignity, our integrity, and whatsoever it is that is important for us, for our development as a nation.
For them in the eastern part of the country, the harsh economy needs to be looked into for the desired change from citizens.
Parents can no longer afford the daily meal their children are supposed to eat. In fact, nothing is moving.
There are so many people benefiting from the government, and there are so many people that are still in hunger that have not benefited. You understand? So there's no how you can beat a child and tell the child not to cry.
Government should do the needful by meeting up to the cry of the poor. You understand? Not hearing it on paper or newspaper. We are doing this, we are doing that. They should do the needful.
As these Nigerians have spoken their minds concerning their level of patriotism and the value system obtainable in Nigeria, one would expect that the National Orientation Agency takes back this message to the appropriate quarters for the change that is desired in our nation. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyomi.
The Dorothy Njemanze Foundation has called for the enforcement of anti-discriminatory laws and implementation of Nigeria's gender policy, especially at the sub-national levels. The call was made in Abuja, the nation's capital, as the foundation unveiled its compendium of sector-specific demands and solutions that can help Nigeria achieve its developmental aspirations. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu throws more light.
Another conversation on inclusivity in governance and leadership continues, and this time by the Dorothy Njemanze Foundation. The foundation is engaging duty bearers and industry leaders in Nigeria, calling them to action.
The compendium discusses the issues facing women, girls, persons with disabilities on a sector-by-sector basis and includes recommendations for policy direction and practical steps for redress.
The submission contained in this compendium being unveiled today comprises recommendations born out of a multi-stakeholder dialogue.
So the biggest issue is that Nigeria cannot maximize her potentials because Nigeria is focusing on forcing men to give capacity that men are not able to give. You know, men have the role that they can play, but if you don't carry the entire population along, if you don't carry women along as you are carrying men along, then you're outstretching men and they will never give you what they need to give you. But when you carry the whole population along, then it means that you're spreading the weights evenly. Let's not keep it vague. We have come up with sector-specific solutions that we have proffered. So we hope that all the ministries, all the departments, all the agencies, the legislature, the judiciary, look into this and be guided by things that they can do. These are the low-hanging fruits. Let's pluck them together.
The foundation says that the purpose of compiling the compendium is to offer valuable insight into the myriad of issues affecting women, which deny them opportunities to participate in the development of society. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
After the break, at least 13 reported dead in Plateau mine collapse. Details shortly. Join us again. Thank you for staying with us. On a sad note, at least 13 persons have been reported dead after a mining site collapse in Bassa local government area of Plateau State. Joshua Riti, chairman of the local government area, said the incident occurred on November 10th. He ordered that 7 of the deceased hail from Bassa LGA. The collapsed mining site is co-terminus with just south and just north local government areas. Majority of the victims were said to be aged 18 to 30. Mining accidents are becoming a recurring decimal in resource-rich Nigeria. In June, a mining site collapsed in Niger State following a downpour. 7 persons were eventually rescued. In January, 2 people were killed and 77 injured in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, due to the activities of illegal miners. Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun has dismissed claim that miners were detained during the recent End Bad Governance protest. Egbetokun clarified that those arrested were individuals involved in arson, property destruction and looting rather than peaceful protesters or miners. Speaking at a workshop on professionalism in criminal investigation at the Police Resource Center in Abuja, Egbetokun thanked President Bola Tinubu for ordering the release of any individuals wrongly detained. Accordingly, the IGP addressed reports of police officers escorting 100 foreigners, including Chinese and Malaysian nationals, detained for alleged cybercrimes in Abuja.
To use this opportunity to correct an impression. The impression that those minors were arrested for participating in the End Bad Governance protest. That is a wrong narrative. It is not true. The police did not arrest anybody who participated in the End Bad Governance protest. We arrested criminals who took advantage of the protest to cause destruction to public infrastructure, to destroy private businesses, to commit arson. Those one cannot be regarded as protesters. The police did not arrest any protester. Even television stations showed where police give escorts to protesters. We protected the protesters, but we arrested the criminals. So it's a wrong narrative. It is mischievous for anybody to push that narrative out that those 76 suspects that were arraigned in court were suspects, were people who participated in the End Bad Governance protest. We have said times and times that to protest is a right of citizens. But the Constitution that gives you the right to protest also gives you the right to respect the rights of others. So we don't go against people who come out to protest. We even protect them. But those who come out to commit crime are the ones who have confrontation with us.
Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says that it will commence the tracking of government expenditure and disbursement in an effort to combat the growing menace of financial crimes in the country. The chairman of the commission made this known to lawmakers following a visit by the members of the Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes at the Commission's headquarters in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Our correspondent, Joshua Imarai, has details.
It was an oversight visit by Nigeria's Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes to the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in Abuja. The chairman of the EFCC, who welcomed the lawmakers, says that the commission is actively pursuing its mandate to fight corruption. He says that with the granting of access of the commission to the Integrated Personnel and Payroll Information System, also known as IPPIS, the commission is now well positioned to monitor government disbursement in real time, ensuring transparency and proper utilization of public funds.
For you to recover every 10 naira stolen, you spend between 4 and 5 naira. But to prevent 10 naira from being stolen, you probably spend less than 1 naira. So, which is more, impactful way of fighting corruption. So, I believe in prevention, and that was what led to my establishing a new directorate upon my assumption of office called Fraud Risk Assessment and Control. So, we have a relationship with the Accountant General's office now. We have been given access to GIVMIS. We want to monitor releases live and where the money goes.
The chairman of the EFCC called for the lawmakers' support in fighting graft by appropriately funding its budget so that it can acquire a software that will help monitor and investigate virtual currency trading in the country.
There's a software I'm trying to procure just to investigate cryptocurrency and this the virtual currency trading and all of that, which is a major problem to us. The list we receive is 3.4 billion just for just one software. And I can tell you several billions of dollars we are losing through this unlicensed cryptocurrency trading in Nigeria. Now we are meeting with SEC and CBN. We have come up with regulations. So we need to prepare for us to monitor them, their tax payment, the revenue that is supposed to come to government. If we do our work very well, we won't realize less than $5 billion every year.
At the end of the engagement, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes shared his views on the visit to the commission.
Like custom do, they are entitled to a percentage of whatever they get for the year. And if you do it to EFCC, they will be able to work very well. Out of 3,600 and something cases they have 2,600 and something convictions. They recovered over 200 billion naira, over 190 something thousand or $96,000. They have done a lot just within 1 year. I commend them. The committee is impressed with them.
The chairman of the EFCC also announced that the commission has launched a project to train 500 convicted internet fraudsters in cybersecurity as a means of rehabilitation, giving them an alternative to cybercrime. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
Entrepreneurs in Nigeria are to be provided with mentorship opportunities and seed capital to grow their businesses. This is by a mentorship support foundation in Abuja at its upcoming seminar scheduled for November 30th, 2024 in Abuja. The president of the foundation, while speaking to newsmen in the federal capital, says the event will bring together industry leaders who will share from their wealth of experiences in a bid to empower young minds to become self-employed.
It's an opportunity, an eye-opening for you to learn as a young person. You know, one thing that is at our advantage in the 21st century is the information at our disposal. And the only way you can get the information for you to sustain a business is through a seminar like this. So Meet the CEO 4.0 is not just any entrepreneurship summit or seminar. It's an opportunity for you to learn and hear from pool of CEOs who have done well. And also that day, there's going to be a lot of people or young Nigerians are going to go home with a startup seed for free to enhance their own idea. Because I believe that for us to get it right in Nigeria, in Africa, we must, as a matter of necessity, invest in entrepreneurship.
We are just doing our bit as part of our national contribution to ensure that the youth that are main, stay of government, of economic power are engaged.
Coming up, opposition leader Madeleine urges supporters to demonstrate across Mozambique. We have details shortly. Join us again. Thank you for staying with us. Senegal's former president Macky Sall is making a controversial return to politics as he leads an opposition coalition in Sunday's snap parliamentary election. Sall, who stepped down in April after 12 years in power, handed over to successor Bassirou Diomaye Faye before relocating to Morocco. Now his re-entry into the political arena from abroad has sparked debate about his intentions and potential impacts on the nation. The current Prime Minister, Ousmane Sonko, Sall's longest political rival, has hinted that former officials, including Sall, could face legal scrutiny. Sonko alleges that Sall's administration left Senegal in dire financial strait and mispresented figures to the international partners, claims the former government has denied. This election could intensify political tensions in the West African nation as both sides vie for influence in Senegal's parliament. In the world of arts and entertainment, it is a celebration of an arts icon, and that's South Africa's national treasure, an artistic legend, and a true icon of African heritage, Esther Malango, who turns 89. Born in 1935 in Mpumalanga, Esther's passion for art was nurtured from a young age. Her journey began with traditional mural painting in her community, which later evolved into a celebrated career that would see her collaborating with renowned brands and institutions across the world. Her remarkable fusion of technology and tradition captivated audiences across the globe, further cementing her status as a cultural ambassador for South Africa. Bongani Sisiba has details.
In a world often painted in shades of sameness, one extraordinary woman has made her mark with fierce, bold and strokes, a life dedicated to color, culture and community. Meet Dr. Esther Mahlangu, a renowned Ndebele artist. She turns 89. Her family and community gathered to celebrate not only the artist, but the incredible matriarchy she has been. Her grandchildren and loved ones reflect on the colors of her life, vibrant and full of love.
This is so very amazing because of Dr. Esther Mahlangu. She is the one who like his work to spread all over the world, more especially even here where she lives. We can see there are some children that Dr. Esther Mahlangu she teach them to paint, and I think this is, I don't know what can I experience, but this is so beautiful.
From the humble beginnings from a small rural village of Siaboswa in Gwandebele, Mpumalanga, South Africa, her journey began in her grandmother's home, where she first learned the traditional art form passed down through generations to become a global symbol of culture and artistry. Dr. Mahlangu's journey is one of a passion, resilience, and creativity.
Awa ngikhule ngakho gwala mse ithe ngikhruya ngikhula ngiba mkhulu awa abantu basifundisa abengikwazi till namhlanje singisakwazi natot namhlanje ngisagwala.
She is more than just an artist. She's a cultural ambassador. From her signature bold colors and intricate geometric patterns, she has showcased the richness of Ndebele art far and wide.
Irula ngiyisebenzisini. I'm work with chicken feathers. Wona chicken feathers emasiba wenkukhu. Ya ngiwe ngibereka ngawo ngidala ngawo yabona.
With passion and persistence, Dr. Mahlangu became the first artist to paint a BMW in a vibrant Ndebele style, a symbolic gesture of pride and innovation that left an indelible mark on the art world.
Kade ngathoma ugwala man. Aboso ema basesekhona wena. Sagwala noso ema wabuye wadlula. Abake ngasolo ngikuphethe kugwala tot namhlanje ugwala amadoda into enkulu baphurwa. America, Washington DC, New York, California, Charleston, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, South Carolina, New Jersey.
But Dr. Mahlangu's legacy extends beyond the canvas. A dedicated mentor, she tirelessly advocates for the preservation of African art forms, inspiring young artists to find their own voices. Her legacy is one of empowerment, inspiring countless individuals to embrace their roots.
Dr. Esther Mahlangu's impactful legacy continues not only through her stunning paintings, but also in her dedication to teaching and mentoring young artists. She tirelessly advocates for the preservation of African art forms, ensuring that it thrives for generations to come. In Mpumalanga, Gwandebele, for News Central, Bongani.
Opposition leader Venancio Mondlane has called for widespread protests this week, challenging the recent election result won by the ruling Frelimo party, which has held power since the country's independence in 1975. Mondlane, who received 20% of the October 9 vote, according to official count, alleges the election was rigged. He is urging supporters to demonstrate across the country, including in the capital Maputo, the provincial capitals, border areas and major ports. Mondlane has also called on truck drivers to halt shipments from South Africa to Maputo port. President Felipe Nyusi, who is set to conclude his second term in January, is expected to transfer power to Frelimo's elected candidate, Daniel Chapo. Meanwhile, Human Rights Watch reports that protests related to the disputed election results have already led to 30 fatalities. EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell has pledged unwavering support for Ukraine on the first visit by a top Brussels official after Donald Trump's win. The volatile Republicans' victory in the United States presidential election has set nerves jangling in Ukraine and Europe that Trump could end Washington's support for Kyiv's fight against Russia's invasion. On the campaign trail, Trump cast doubts on maintaining the vast U.S. military and financial aid to Ukraine and said he could cut a quick deal to end the war. Burrow said Russia's President Vladimir Putin doesn't want to negotiate and will not negotiate unless he is forced to do so. For more on this, I'm joined by our international correspondent, and that's Afia Hagen. Afia, tell us what's the latest from the Russia-Ukraine war?
Well, Ukraine has said that at the moment that 50,000 Russian troops are amassed in the Kursk region and that Ukraine are holding them down there. That was in the daily address to the nation that Volodymyr Zelensky does. He said that this operation was reducing Moscow's ability to attack inside Ukraine itself. Now, according to the Institute for the Study of War, that's a U.S. nonprofit, Russia has 11,000 troops in Kursk, or had 11,000 troops in Kursk earlier on this year, and that number has swelled to 50,000. 3 people were killed and another 19 were injured in Russian attacks on Ukraine's eastern region yesterday. So Russian shelling killed 2 people and wounded 5 people in another area. A woman's body was also pulled from under the rubble in a residential area, and another 14 people were killed in a separate attack on the city as well, including a 10-year-old girl and an 11-year-old boy. So attacks occurring on both sides, with quite a significant number of troops being held down in that area of Kursk by Ukrainian forces.
I mean, I can't help but ask the question of what is the state of both of the armies involved now?
Yeah, because this has been a very long war, you know, more than 3 years now. Now, the Russian side of the army, they are being bolstered by North Korean troops. North Korea and Russia have just ratified a deal that essentially says if either side is being attacked, then the other side must spring to its aid and help. And that is definitely what has happened with Russia. And it has a huge number of North Korean troops fighting on their side, even before that treaty was ratified today. Ukraine's military is said to be in trouble. It's running short of infantry and other critical supplies. Now, Ukraine's defense is well dug in, but it's having a massive problem with the numbers of infantry. They're using American tanks and infantry removers just to support the men because they don't have enough bodies on the ground to carry out offensive attacks. Now, we do know as well that the government in the United States, this current Democrat Joe Biden-led government, are trying to release as much aid and as much weapons to Ukraine as possible before their term is over on January the 20th. And having that done will be a huge concern for the Ukraine because there is no clarity on what will happen under a Trump presidency.
Well, thank you so much, Afia Hagen, our international correspondent, for bringing context to this. Countries attending the 29th session of the Climate Change Conference of Parties, COP29, have agreed on a new global carbon market framework which will reward nations cutting down emissions. Speaking on Tuesday in Azerbaijan, Simon Stiell, Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, said the operationalization of carbon markets will accelerate climate action. Still, who described the decision as significant, emphasized the need for climate investments to flow to where it is most needed. He added that a deteriorating climate translates to a cost of living crisis, and its impact will put inflation on steroids unless every country can take bolder climate action. He urged leaders to ensure that their negotiators skip the posturing and move directly to finding a common ground.
No country is immune. So let's dispense with the idea that climate finance is charity. An ambitious new climate finance goal is entirely in the self-interest of every single nation, including the largest and the wealthiest.
In business, the Nigerian government's proposed tax reforms have sparked a nationwide discussion. And this reform seeks to simplify the tax system and enhance revenue, but they've also raised concerns regarding their potential effects on different stakeholders. On an episode of Business Edge, the guest, Abiodun Kayode, an economist and senior manager at PwC Nigeria, clarified the intricacies of payee. He provided insight into the reasons behind the review of the current structure, the proposed exemptions, and who will experience increases or decreases in their taxation burden.
To first of all look back at what the bills are set to do. The bills generally are set to simplify tax laws and also help the government. It helped the government and also help taxpayers, right? Exempting a lot of individuals who probably are not earning much, right? Reduce their tax burden. That's one of the things the bill seeks to do. So with respect to the personal income tax, if you look at our current structure, there is a maximum, there is a certain threshold beyond which if you earn greater than that amount, right? And I think the amount currently is about 3.2 million. So if you earn more than 3.2 million in a year, right, the maximum tax you will pay is going to be within the range of 20% if you're earning more than 3.2 million in a year, right? So what this structure is simply trying to do is to modify it to raise it to 50 million, right? But even as it does raise it to 50 million and it taxes them at, I think, a rate of about 25%, right? Even as it does this, there is a lot of exemptions for low income earners. So under the existing personal income tax structure, the scale, you have a situation whereby if someone is earning an annual income of about 300,000 naira, that person is still required to pay a certain amount of tax, all right, even if you are earning 300,000 naira. But under this new structure, you see a situation whereby if your annual income is about 800,000 naira, your income is actually exempt.
In the world of sports, the cheetahs of Benin Republic are already gathering in Abidjan, their adopted home, as they confront Super Eagles on the same ground where they had their famous 2-1 win in World Cup qualifiers last June. The last international break of the year 2024 opens this Monday, November 11, to begin preparation for the matches of the 5th and 6th day of the AFCON 2025 qualifiers. The cheetahs are already joining Genot Raw and his gang in Abidjan. According to Romeo Aklozo, a Benin Republic football commentator, out of the 25 players called by Genot Raw, about 10 were already in Abidjan since Sunday. 8 were expected as of Monday. The expected are Steve Monier, Jodel Dosu, Marcel Dangino, Andrea Sunsuji, Sameno Oriel, Anna Host, and Olivia Verdon. Ecuadorian footballer and FC Cincinnati player Marco Angulo has died from injuries sustained in a car accident, the Ecuadorian Football Association announced on Tuesday. Angulo's former youth teammate Roberto Cabizas also lost his life in the crash. The 22-year-old Angulo was a passenger in a car that collided with a metal barrier at the Rominhala Highway southeast of Quito on October 7. Cabizas, who played for Independiente Juniors, was driving and was killed at the scene along with another passenger. Angulo suffered severe head injuries and a lung contusion in the accident. He was placed in an artificial coma but ultimately succumbed to his injuries on Monday night. At the time of his passing, Angulo was playing for Ecuadorian League champions LDU Quito on loan from his MLS club, FC Cincinnati. Norway and Arsenal captain Martin Odegaard says he needs to listen to his body after withdrawing from his country squad for his week's Nations League fixtures. The midfielder injured ankle ligaments during September's international break, forcing him to miss 7 weeks of action. He made his return in Arsenal's 1-0 defeat by Inter Milan in the Champions League last week before playing the whole of Sunday's 1-1 draw with Chelsea in the Premier League. Odegaard was initially left out of Norway's squad for matches against Slovenia on 14th November and Kazakhstan 3 days later, but he traveled to Oslo to be assessed by the medical department. Odegaard missed 12 Arsenal matches following his injury in September, and he has made 5 appearances for the Gunners in all competitions this season. Norway atop of the Nations League group with 7 points from 4 matches. Odegaard, who has played 61 times for his country, was named captain of the national side in 2021. And that's all on the news. Let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Senator Okpewolo has been sworn in as Edo State 5th democratically elected governor. As independent marketers signed deal on fuel supply with Dangote, NNPC Ltd has denied working against the local refinery. Ex-Senegal's President Macky Sall is leading opposition coalition in SNAP parliamentary election. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adedugba.